So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. As I'm sure you guys know, my name is Justin Williams from the GE Power Station. And I want to welcome you guys to another What's What. This month's topic is posture, and the actual National Health Observance topic for this month is safety. So we thought posture kind of has a lot to do with that, and so that's why we chose it. So having said that, I do want to point out that this is introductory only, and it's not a replacement for a complete ergonomic assessment. So if you guys are interested in those, reach out to us because we can do that. But I do just want you guys to know that this is a high-level overview. And of course, if you guys have any other questions at the end of the presentation, feel free to ask away. So moving on, I want you guys to take a moment to check your body posture. Do you notice that you're slouching or slumping? Maybe not right now that I just brought up posture, but it's important to note that slouching can not only lead to back pain, but it's also connected to things like your energy, confidence, and openness. And more specifically, posture refers to how you hold your body. And there's two types of posture. You've got your static posture, which is when you're sitting, standing, and sleeping. And then you've also got dynamic posture, which is when you're moving. So before we get into posture pointers, I want to talk about just the basics of the spine. So that's your spine is your body's main support structure, and you've got three natural curvatures. The first is your cervical, so that's your neck area. You've got 7 cervical vertebrae. Next is your thoracic, which is your middle back. You've got 12 thoracic vertebrae. Then finally, you've got your lumbar, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with how prevalent low back pain is these days. You've got 5 lumbar vertebrae. So your posture, or how you hold your spine, can either prevent or cause pain depending on how closely aligned you are with our picture here. So let's test your knowledge real quick. Good posture means keeping your back as straight as possible instead of slouching. True or false? If we would have dropped some answers in the chat box too. What do you guys think?
False.
Correct. So correct posture maintains the 3 curves of the spine. It does not over-exaggerate them. And that in turn will help prevent pain and injuries. So let's go over some risks of poor posture. So poor posture can affect your health in several ways. The first being it can increase pain, such as in the back, neck, shoulders, arms, and legs. It can also lead to decreased flexibility, poor balance, increased risk of falls, which is related to your balance, strength, and flexibility. It can also impact other areas of the body, such as breathing and digestion. And then finally, it can increase your fatigue because the body is not moving efficiently. So now that we got the risks out of the way, let's give you some pointers on how to mitigate these risks. So we'll start with some standing posture pointers. It's important that you try to maintain a neutral spine. Don't over-exaggerate your stance like we were just talking about. Avoid those military at attention postures. You also want to keep your chin level with the floor as often as possible. Cranking your neck in certain positions to look at stuff I'm sure you guys have found can lead to pain. You want to keep your head balanced over your shoulders. Don't turtleneck it by sticking your head out too much, and don't try to give yourself a double chin all the time, because again, that over-exaggerates that natural cervical curvature. You want to keep your feet about shoulder width apart for balance. You want to avoid locking out your knees. You want to keep them slightly bent. And then finally, you want to slightly contract your core musculature. So these are your abs, your glute muscles, really any of the muscles that support your spine. So now that we've gone over some pointers for standing, let's talk about some for sitting. So for sitting, you want to keep your shoulders back and relaxed. You want to keep your hips and knees approximately level, or the hips should be slightly higher than the knees. And as I'm going through these, do a self-assessment right now while you're sitting in your chair. The third pointer is support the natural curvature of the low back. Use a lumbar support. You can buy these if your chair doesn't have a sufficient one, or you can just roll a towel up and place it in the natural curve of your low back. The next pointer for sitting is both feet should be fully supported on the floor. And if you cannot reach the floor without getting excess extension through your low back, then don't be afraid to use a stool to bring your feet to that level spot. Next, when turning, try to turn your whole body rather than twisting at the waist. And then finally, I think the most important one is take breaks from sitting by getting up to move every 30 to 60 minutes or so. Even having a perfect posture for long periods of time is still going to lead to pain, because I think the biggest bit of advice that can help you mitigate back pain is just changing your position. And finally, for sitting, and when it comes to specifically working on a computer, it's also important to consider your monitor height. The monitor should be adjusted so that the neck is aligned with the spine to prevent neck pain. You want your eyesight looking straight ahead to align with the first line on a Word document. So let's test your knowledge once again. True or false? Standing all day at a standing desk is better than sitting all day. What do you think? So we got a true, we got a false, we got a tricky. Yeah, so this is actually false. Even though standing desks are popular, like I just mentioned, prolonged static standing can cause back pain as much as prolonged sitting. So it is also possible to have poor posture when standing at a computer. So to really ring this point home with you guys, the bottom line is keep moving and alternating postures throughout the day as much as possible. The general rule of thumb is stand for 15 to 20 minutes, sit for 40 to 45 of each hour. The benefit is really in changing positions. It's not in staying to a strict ratio. So note that all people are different, and it's best that you try out different combinations to figure out what works best for you. Maybe 25, 35, 25 standing, 35 sitting, maybe even 30-30 works best for you. And then our final posture pointer tips are for when you're sleeping. So it's important to use a pillow that contours and supports the neck and keeps the head aligned with the spine. If you're sleeping on your side, a pillow between the knees may also increase comfort and also help to keep the spine aligned. It's also important to try not to sleep with your hands underneath the pillow, as this also affects your alignment. You can put a pillow in the armpit of the top arm to help with comfort and reduce twisting forces on the spine. If you sleep on your back, which might I add is the healthiest way to sleep, a pillow under the knees may also help reduce pressure on the spine. And then finally, it is best to avoid sleeping on your stomach, which tends to increase back and neck pain because you're getting too much extension. If you must sleep on your stomach, use a pillow underneath your stomach and a pillow under your ankles, but no pillow under your head or something very, very small and thin. You can also put a pillow under the mid-chest area if it helps with comfort to reduce strain on your neck. So next, let's give you some posture pointers for working within your reach zone. So we want to reduce stress on the neck and entire back, shoulders, and arms by keeping work close to the body and within the ideal and preferred range. This also applies to sitting as well. So taking a look at our diagram over here on the left, you want to perform less than 10 to 15% in these very poor and poor ranges as far as how far away the work is from your body. And then you want to attempt to perform 85 to 90% or more of work in the ideal and fair zones. All right, the closer, I'm sure you guys have found this too, the closer you can have something to your body and your center of gravity, the easier it is on your back. So do your best anytime you're picking stuff up to make sure you're getting it as close to your body as possible. So segueing from the reach zone, let's talk about posture pointers for lifting. So before lifting, you want to assess the situation. See the size and weight of the object. See where you're starting and where you're ending up with it. If it exceeds your ability to safely perform the lift, don't be afraid to ask for help. Stand close to the object with your feet shoulder apart. Give yourself a wide base of support before you go to lift that object. You want to make sure you have a safe and firm footing. And then probably the most important, and I know everyone knows this, but do you actually remember to do this when you go to pick something up, is squat and bend at the knees, not the waist. Your quads and your entire leg musculature are much stronger than those small erector spinae low back muscles. So the more you can squat to pick up an item and keep your chest up, the more your legs can help you. And then finally, you want to secure a firm grip on the object and pull it as close to your trunk as you can. You also want to tighten the abs and then slowly lift, as I said, using the legs, not the back. Carrying the object close to the body and at waist level is your strongest position. And when turning, pivot with your feet. Try not to twist at the trunk. And then you'll also follow the same process for lowering object. And I don't want to just skim over that part because I notice it here in the fitness center as well. I see a lot of people have really good technique when it comes to lifting a weight up. And then as soon as they're done, they're just giving up their back and bringing the weights to the floor. It's just as important that you follow the same pointers that you got to get that weight up, whatever it may be, whether it's an actual a dumbbell or whether it be you're moving and it's a box full of plates. It's the same process for lowering as coming up. So what will you do next? Will you set a reminder to get up and move? Will you always practice lifting using proper technique, even with light loads and even when you're lowering them back down. When sitting, will you use a rolled towel to support the low back? Or will you focus on working within a safe reach zone? So these are just a few ideas of possible small steps. So with that said, I'll open it up to questions. No questions? All right, guys. Well, thank you for.
What about stretching?
Yeah,
Do you
what's
have like
that?
some tips on stretching to help with better posture?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you can do quite a few stretches just sitting on the floor. I'd say the most popular low back stretch would be a single knee or double knee to chest. So laying on your back, grabbing one knee or both knees. One knee is going to allow you to get a little bit deeper of a stretch on that one side. But then I think the important thing is making sure you're holding it for at least 30 seconds. Anything less than that, it's not that it's not going to help you, but you're not going to get as much. You're not going to get as efficient of a stretch if you don't hold it for at least 30 seconds. And then you can also get kind of one side over the other as well. If you sit on your butt, and then you cross one leg over the other, and then you try to twist towards that same side of the knee that's up. So one leg would be straight, one leg would be up, crossed over, and then you would be turning towards that side. And that's going to get a little bit of the glute as well as the low back. And if you're having a hard time visualizing those, feel free to stop in the power station. I'd love to give you a demo. Any other questions?
Okay, great.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Be sure to join us next month for our What's What on sun safety. Hope you have a good rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Thanks.